guys, I'm Elgems and welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here then just welcome. I make Reddit videos. So as of uploading this it will be Saturday, and I figured it's probably been a long hard week for the majority of us, so I thought what a better video to do than a little relaxing one, having a look at today after. And if you think that you're having a bad day, well I'm certain that these people are probably having a far worse one. And I fear that it's only going to get worse because now they're on trial at the Elgems Court of Ethics. But before the trials start today, I'd like to ask you, my jury, if you like Reddit content then leave a like and a comment on this video and subscribe for weekly Reddit content. Now that that's out of the way, send in the first defendant. I would like to welcome to the stand Mysterious By 7255. The charges: today I effed up by accidentally insulting my girlfriend's cooking in front of her whole family. Ooh, okay, yikes, yeah, this definitely isn't sounding good. You're gonna need a good lawyer because this, not okay. But we shall give our defendant a moment to actually defend themselves. Yesterday was my girlfriend Emma's family barbecue, and I think I might have destroyed our relationship. I'm 25M and she's 24F, and we've been together for a year. Emma's been really excited about me meeting her extended family, and she made this potato salad that she was super proud of and kept asking if I liked it. Honestly, it was pretty bland, but I didn't want to hurt her feelings, so I just said that it was good. During dinner, her uncle starts asking me about my family's cooking, and somehow we get onto the topic of potato salad. He mentions how his mom used to make the best potato salad with paprika and bits of bacon. Without thinking, I say, oh yeah, that sounds much better than plain potato salad. I love it when it actually has flavour. Emma just stares at me and her mom gets this shocked look. Emma's cousin goes, wait, didn't Emma make potato salad? And I realised what I said. I immediately tried to backtrack and say that I wasn't talking about Emma's, but everyone knows that I was. Emma excuses herself to the bathroom and doesn't come back for like 20 minutes. When she does, her eyes are all red and she barely talks to me for the rest of the night. On the drive home, she starts crying and saying I embarrassed her in front of everyone. I keep apologising, but she says it's not about potato salad, it's about how I could be so thoughtless. She's barely texted me since yesterday and I don't know how to make this right. I really didn't mean to insult her cooking, it just slipped out. TLDR, accidentally insulted my girlfriend's potato salad in front of her entire family. Now she thinks I'm a thoughtless jerk and won't talk to me. And this, my friends, is why we think before we speak. This is terrible, this is just... I know it's not the worst thing a person can do, but it's just so bad, oh my god. But okay, let's humour you for a moment. You say that you didn't mean anything bad by it, so let's just say that that's true. But the way that you still worded that sentence when you're like, oh yeah, that sounds much better than plain potato salad, that was kind of snarky and a really weird way to word that. I mean, you could have just said like, wow, that sounds really tasty, I'd probably enjoy that. But no, like, what you did, intended or not, was a dig at your girlfriend. Also, like, did you just forget that there was potato salad at this function or something? Because why would you insult it when, like, it's literally right there, like, anyone could have made that, even if, like, your girlfriend didn't. What if her, like, family had made it? What a terrible first impression. I see and I acknowledge that you did make an attempt to take back what you said and backpedal, but I fear that the damage may already be done, and for that, there's not much I can say in your defence, OP. And I cannot overlook the fact that this is not a victimless crime. This has clearly upset your girlfriend in this situation, leaving her quite upset by the ordeal. Also, there's the case of the in-laws. They're now probably quite angry and thinking, damn, this guy's a douche. So, many victims in this crime. However, taking note of your defence, OP, the crime was clearly not intended to cause harm, despite the fact that it did, but you also do show remorse for said crime, so my verdict will be: you get 2 months worth of community service and some court-mandated couples therapy, but you are loosely avoiding jail time. OP, you are free to leave the court, and I'd like to call our next defendant, Swagged Up 06, up to the stand, and the charges are: today I effed up by drinking pure tea tree oil. Ah, okay, have we had a medical team confirm that OP is in the right condition to be in court right now? Yes? Okay, well, on to their defence then. This all happened 2 days ago, but I decided to post it here anyway. I, 18M, was at my grandparents' place for a weekend. I'd been dealing with some minor gum issues, and I'd notified my grandma about it as I knew that she'd battled gum issues in the past. She gave me a bottle of pure tea tree oil, suggested 3 drops in 150ml of water to rinse and spit out. Importantly, spit out. I told her I don't really taste anything, so she told me to try 10 drops after rinsing and spitting out. She decided to let me take the bottle home. The following night at home I was doing the rinse and spit when I got the clever thought, oh, since it's tea tree, safe to use for your mouth. Or so I thought. I'm sure there's some health benefits of swallowing it. ROP, it appears that the court is already not in your favour because of the sheer stupidity of your decision making as of yet. I ended up drinking 10 drops of pure tea tree oil diluted with just 150ml of water, with the idea that it was a good idea because I'm a very dehydrated person anyway. In bed, right before putting my phone down, I decided to look up tea tree oil to see how healthy my choice had been. Upon googling it, I was told to rush to the hospital immediately. And OP, I do wonder, why did you not Google how safe the decision was before actually making said decision? After walking to the hospital, it's about a 5 or 6 minute walk, I ended up being strapped down to a chair and being poked with needles. Then they rolled the chair into the back of an ambulance and we were heading for the city. They checked my blood pressure, heart rate and regularity and blood sugar levels, all of which they said were textbook perfect. I was made to stay in a crowded fluorescent hospital hallway for 6 hours from 1 to 7 AM. Then I had to wait in the car for 30 minutes as we drove back to town where I could finally catch 5 hours of probably the worst sleep of my life. I luckily walked off fine though with no lasting symptoms or anything. Also, concerning a little extra, some of my doctors had to use ChatGPT to understand what tea tree oil was. TLDR, drank 10 drops of pure tea tree oil and ended up in the hospital. OP, we need to have a little word. We should not be taking health advice from the older generation. These are the same people who will eat mouldy food and they say it's fine if you just cut the mould off of it. But if you are to take their health advice like you did in this situation, you should probably listen to it properly instead of just improvising on it. I am, however, grateful that you still had the foresight to at least dilute it when you drank it. But at the same time, I thought we learnt when we were children that anything that's not food or drink should not be consumed, especially not in essential oil. I mean, come on. It's literally, like, in some cases dangerous for essential oils to get on the skin, never mind inside of you. Honestly, it's quite marvellous that you've made it this far in life with your lack of common sense and survival skills. And I cannot look past the idiocy of Googling if it's safe to do something after you've already done it. I mean, that's like if I chopped my hand off and then went, hey Google, is it safe for me to chop my hand off? If you have to Google if it's safe to do it, it's probably not safe to do it. So in future, OP, you know your brain, that thing in your head, use it. So, OP, my verdict, your sentencing, I'm going to sentence you to 3 months in solitary confinement. Not because I think that you've committed a heinous crime that needs you locking away, but because I think that you're a danger to yourself and it's best that you be away from anything harmful for a while. Now I'd like to call our next defendant to the stand, Wonderful Piglet 138. The charges: today I effed up by accidentally initiating a citywide goose chase. Okay, this could mean many things, so OP, get to explaining yourself. Just moved to a quiet green area in Port. Geese everywhere, not a fan, but I leave them alone. Until yesterday, when I heard a ridiculous amount of honking outside my window. Look out and see a huge goose chasing a terrified chihuahua around my yard. Old lady from the street is trying to help with a broom and failing. Oh, so you mean like an actual goose? You're not speaking metaphorically when you said goose chase. I'm assuming now that you mean an actual goose chase. I get this genius idea to help, so I grab one of the gardening gloves and run outside like I knew what I'm doing. Goose turns on me instantly, spreads its wings, hisses like it wants my soul. I panic, start backing up, and then start running. But now a second goose joins in and suddenly I'm sprinting down the street being chased by 2 giant feathery demons. Neighbours are watching through windows, kids on bikes right beside me laughing, cheering on the birds as a delivery guy almost crashes to avoid the chaos. It turned into a full-on several-block goose pursuit, me in the lead screaming, geese behind squawking like war drums. Eventually I dive behind a parked car, out of breath, defeated and sweaty. The geese just waddled back like nothing happened. Chihuahua is safe. Old lady thanks me, tries not to laugh. Wife hears about it from the neighbours and looks at me and just says, "You brought a gardening glove, didn't you?" And now I'm the guy who ran from geese, apparently the unofficial goose whisperer of the neighbourhood. TLDR, tried to save a chihuahua from 1 goose and ended up being chased by 2 across several blocks while neighbours watched and laughed, and now everybody knows me as the goose guy. Oh my, the punctuation in this story, or as I should say, lack thereof, in this story was so appalling that I almost sentenced you to years in jail just because of it. But that's not really important. Let's actually sit down and review this situation, shall we? OP, your heart was in the right place. You had only good intentions. You saw this little dog getting attacked by a goose, and may I add that geese are probably the evilest, most violent creatures that nature has. And you went over because you saw the old lady trying to help the dog, and it's a good thing that you did go over because the old lady's probably a lot more frail than you are, and if the goose had attacked her, she probably wouldn't have been able to run like you did, and it wouldn't have ended very well. And it may have been a very humiliating situation for you. I mean, from the way you've described it, you were a mockery in this situation, running for your life from these horrible, mean geese, while everyone pointed and laughed at you like it was a scene from a comedy movie. But I say let 'em laugh, OP, because what you did today, your brave sacrifice, it saved 2 lives. You helped that poor little dog out in the first place, you helped out the old lady, and I beg to differ that you also helped everybody in that neighbourhood, because while you were distracting those geese, they couldn't attack anybody else. And because of that, OP, I actually consider you a hero. You saved the dog's life, the old lady's life, and the life of the neighbourhood. You may have made a fool out of yourself, and you may be the laughingstock of your entire neighbourhood, but you're a hero regardless, and you're also the victim in this situation, and I think that you've been wrongfully sent into my courtroom today. So OP, on to my verdict. You've been wrongfully sent into court when you are the hero in this situation. You made a heroic sacrifice today. You benefited many people with your sacrifice. So OP, I'm dropping all charges. You're free to go. Our next defendant entering the stand is Marmy Flam Official. The charges: today I effed up by entering the women's restroom. I was completely exhausted and half asleep, just trying to make it through the day. Without thinking, I walked into what I thought was the men's restroom. My mind was foggy and I didn't even bother checking the sign on the door. I went in, washed my face, and leaned against the sink trying to wake up. A minute later, a group of girls walked in and I stared at them in confusion. Still convinced that I was in the right place, I told them, you're in the wrong restroom. One of them just looked at me and replied, no, you are. That's when everything hit me. I looked around and noticed a lack of urinals and realised that I'd just walked into the women's restroom by mistake. I froze, completely embarrassed, and rushed out. TLDR, I was super tired and accidentally walked into the women's restroom without realising. When a group of girls came in, I told them they were in the wrong place. Turns out I was the one who messed up. Total embarrassment. Okay, I have to admit that I find this quite funny. I know the OP probably doesn't find it very funny. They're clearly quite embarrassed by what they did. But to me, this is just like a ha-ha moment. And I don't really think that OP did anything wrong. I think it's a pretty honest mistake that he made. He wondered him because he was tired and he weren't paying attention, and all he did was wash his face and just stand there for a moment. It's not like he was bothering anyone, and he left as soon as he realised that he was in the wrong restroom. And let's not kid ourselves either, entering the wrong bathroom is a mistake that we all make at least once in our life. So after considering the facts and the context of the situation, OP, I'm deciding that my verdict will be that I'm dropping your charges. You're free to go. Next to the stand we have Positive Seaweed 532, and their charges are: today I effed up by lying about being sick to skip a friend's wedding. Okay OP, I'm not gonna lie to you, you better have a good defence ready because the court is not in your favour. This sounds very bad. God, I feel like such a terrible person right now. My friend Sarah's wedding was yesterday and I told her I had food poisoning and couldn't make it. The truth is I just really didn't want to go. I'm 27M and honestly weddings stress me out. Plus Sarah's been super bridezilla lately and the whole thing was going to be super expensive. The bachelor party alone cost me $400 and I'm still broke from that. So Friday night I texted her saying that I'm throwing up and I can't travel. She was really sweet about it and said that she understood and hoped that I felt better soon. I felt so bad, but also relieved. Well, today I'm scrolling Instagram and see that my co-worker posted a story from some bar, and there I am in the background, clearly not sick, having beers with my buddies. I didn't even think about social media when I decided to go out. Sarah hasn't said anything yet, but I know that she follows my co-worker. I'm just waiting for her to see it and realise that I lied. The wedding looked beautiful from all the photos, and I feel like such a jerk for missing it over stupid anxiety. I want to come clean, but I don't know how to explain that I lied because I'm a coward who can't handle social situations. She's going to hate me and probably tell everyone what I did. Should I confess or just hope that she doesn't see the post? I'm spiralling here. TLDR, faked being sick to skip a friend's wedding, then got caught on social media at a bar the same night. Now I'm waiting for the fallout. Okay, the court's read your defence, OP, and there's a few things that aren't quite adding up. Firstly, you claim that the Sarah character is a bridezilla, yet when you tell her that you can't make the wedding, she's super sweet about it. That's the first thing that stood out to me, but doesn't quite add up here. And what's also not adding up here is that you claim that you didn't want to go because the wedding was going to be super expensive, but since when do wedding guests pay for wedding expenses? And your final defence for skipping your friend's wedding was that weddings stress you out, and I can understand that because a wedding is a super chaotic, loud, busy environment. There's a lot of people there, and I could understand being an anxious person not liking that type of environment. But you say that you're an anxious person who doesn't like social situations, yet you're at a bar, and I would beg to differ that a bar is a much more chaotic environment than a wedding. You see now, OP, your defences, they don't quite add up, they're not very solid, and I'm starting to get the feeling that you haven't been completely honest with the court of F-ups. And you see, this leaves me to question your motives, OP. Could it perhaps be that really this friendship is just not one of importance to you, and so this wedding was not an important event to you, and now that's okay? That's completely fine, but you should have been honest about that. So, OP, on to my verdict. Your excuses for skipping the wedding are flaky at best, they're a bit unstable and they don't quite add up, and on top of that, you skip the wedding and then you lack the foresight to make sure that you're not caught skipping the wedding and caught in the middle of your lie, and because of that you leave me no choice but to sentence you to 2 years in the F-up jail. Calling our final defendant to the stand, Cultural Jackfruit 44, and the charges are: today I effed up by pretending to be fluent in Spanish to impress a girl and ending up at a family funeral. I must say that OP, the charges, they intrigue me. This appears to be quite an interesting story and I'm interested to hear your defence. Okay, so this happened last month, but I'm still recovering from the emotional damage. There's this girl at my uni I've had a crush on forever. Let's call her Camilla. She's Colombian, smart, funny and bilingual. I thought, hey, maybe if I show off my amazing read Duolingo algorithm Spanish skills, she'll finally see me as more than just that guy who always forgets his pens in stats class. So one day I overhear her talking about needing help with Spanish literature assignment. I seize the moment. I slide over like the budget Casanova and go something in Spanish. Thank you, Duolingo. She looks impressed, I think. She starts speaking full Colombian speed. I'm just standing there smiling like an idiot, nodding, sweating. Instead of admitting I only understood about 4 words, I double down. I tell her I'm half Spanish. I'm not. My grandma taught me. She didn't. And I love Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I've never read a word. Next thing I know, she invites me over to help her with the essay. I frantically binge YouTube videos and ChatGPT translations for 2 days straight and somehow managed to not fully embarrass myself. We even bonded a bit. I think it's working. Fast forward a week, she texted me out the blue and says that she's going to a family event and would love if I came along. She says it will be good Spanish practice. I'm thinking barbecue, music, maybe dancing. I say yes. I show up in jeans and a hoodie, to a funeral, like a real emotional tears and black clothes funeral. Apparently her great aunt had passed and she'd mentioned it in her voice note, but I only heard celebration de la vida. Sorry guys, I probably butchered that. And I thought it meant party. So here I am, smiling like an idiot, holding flowers I brought from Tesco, and someone mistakes me for the priest's assistant. Camilla is too nice to call me out. She just quietly explains the situation, in Spanish of course, to her entire family, and I sit in a corner for 2 hours clutching my coat like it's a raft while people cry around me. The kicker? Her abuela comes up to me afterwards, grabs my hand and says something so fast and emotional that I just go, "Sí, gracias," and try not to cry from embarrassment. Needless to say, I haven't made eye contact with Camilla since, but hey, my Spanish vocab has definitely improved. TLDR, pretended to be fluent in Spanish to impress a girl, ended up crashing her great aunt's funeral thinking it was a party. Yeah, this is probably generational curse level F-up OP. I don't know what you were thinking or how you allowed this to go on for so long or why you didn't use Google Translate to translate what she'd invited you to. I just got major second-hand embarrassment from reading this. This is the worst one we've read all day. This is unforgivable. This is terrible. Like, I kept reading this thinking it can't get any worse, and then you did or said something that just made it worse, and more F-ups just kept piling on top of the original F-up. OP, this is bad on so many levels because 1, you've lied to her and she's probably going to be really angry at you for lying to her over this. It was a really weird lie as well, oh yeah, I'm half Spanish and my grandma taught me Spanish. That's just a bizarre thing to lie about. And secondly, if you have a crush on this girl and you were hoping to get closer, which is why you did this, you could have just attempted to start a conversation, because the relationship that you're going to have with this girl and the dynamic that you've created was one of like a tutor and a student in a way, and that's probably not the best way to impress someone and get to know them. But that being said, somehow your lie was so effective that it worked, and she clearly ended up getting closer to you and liking you enough to invite you to a bloody funeral, and that's how she found out that you'd been lying. So instead of trying to form a relationship with this girl the natural way, you formed a dynamic that was based off of deceit, and it's clearly come back to bite you in the ass. And it's a shame, because clearly you were getting along until she figured out that you were lying to her, so let this be a lesson to everyone in the jury not to do anything like what the OP has done. And I'm sorry, OP, but my verdict's going to be that I'm sentencing you to 5 years in the F-up jail. There's just so many levels to this, so many layers of deceit, so many layers of embarrassment and lying that I can't sentence you to anything less than that. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me in the F-up court. Hope you've had a good time today. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my sentencings. That could be quite entertaining. I do need to take a moment though just to make it clear that I don't have a problem with any of the people in these stories today. This whole thing's meant to be a gimmick and it's meant to be funny and entertaining, so don't go over and send anyone hate or anything like that. That being said, if you've watched up until this point in the video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and don't forget to leave a like. Also, if you enjoyed this video, then feel free to subscribe to the channel because I post weekly Reddit content just like this. If you're a returning viewer, then you're probably well aware that usually I'll do much more in-depth videos on subreddits like Am I the A-hole and r/relationship advice. And they're not going anywhere, don't worry about that, I'll still be posting those throughout the week. But I figured it's safe to assume that by the end of the week we've all been working hard, we've all been very busy, and we just want something a bit more toned down and relaxed, and that's where the F-up court came from. And the F-up court's just a more relaxed and satirical version of my usual Reddit commentary. It's meant to be fun, not that serious, while still giving you Reddit content. And I have dabbled with the idea of the F-up court in the past, but it wasn't quite there yet. But now I think I've finally perfected the structure of these videos, and I can safely make them a regular occurrence for Saturday videos. So until next time, guys, bye bye.